Hey guys, I have Randy Sutton with me who has just returned from Arizona, from Tucson, where this insane case is unfolding, Randy. And you've had so many years in law enforcement to bring to the situation. Tell me what you experienced down there. What are you making of this case?
So this is one of the largest profile cases I've ever seen. I mean, this is literally like the Charles Lindbergh baby kidnapping from the
Yeah.
last century. It's captured the imagination of not just America but the world,
Hmm.
and with that scrutiny comes a lot of problems for law enforcement.
Yeah.
Um, since the beginning, let's look at the beginning of this case where
Okay.
this was originally called in as a missing persons case, and this is in Pima County. Now, Tucson is the city within Pima County, but Tucson PD does not have the jurisdiction here. The Pima County Sheriff's Department does. They're in the unincorporated area of the county, so that's why it falls under the purview of the sheriff. Now, when they first got the call about Mrs. Guthrie missing, they first treated it like a missing person, like she had wandered away. But they called out search and rescue, and they did a search, et cetera, and so forth. But apparently, there was a pretty significant crime scene there, which they eventually called a crime scene. But here's the problem: if you don't treat a crime scene as just that at the very beginning of the stages of the investigation, well, evidence can be tampered with, evidence can be destroyed. Having a pristine crime scene for forensic analysis is really important. And unfortunately, I think that was an issue from the very beginning. Then you had the sheriff come out there and give a couple press conferences,
Yeah.
which were nothing short of embarrassing to law enforcement. And I mean, I watched these press conferences, and my mouth was agape, thinking, this is the guy that's running this agency.
It wasn't
We got a
confidence
problem.
building. It was not.
No, no, it sure wasn't. And everything I've seen from him in relation to this investigation has just borne out my initial thoughts.
Hmm.
So we have we now the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Their officers are top notch,
Sure.
but we have a couple situations here where the leadership has sincerely affected this investigation. For instance, it's come to my attention through sources on the ground that the because of personality issues, the sheriff basically took all of the experienced homicide investigators that were in homicide and transferred them to places as a punishment. Now, what does that leave? That leaves inexperienced homicide detectives, one of whom I understand has never investigated a homicide. Homicide is one of those jobs that it takes years to become competent in because you just don't get. And let me make a comparison for you. Tucson Police Department had about 50 homicides last year to investigate. Pima County had about five.
Yeah.
So you don't get that many, you don't develop that expertise. So he had transferred, because of disciplinary issues, transferred the experienced investigators and leaving inexperienced investigators. That's a big problem. Then we have the problem with him not calling in the FBI and then not
Mm.
cooperating with the FBI. And he can say that he didn't do that all he wants.
Yeah. I mean, he
Even the
says he
FBI
did.
came,
Yeah.
even the FBI came out and said he didn't.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues involved here, and meanwhile, then you had these ransom notes coming into entertainment bureaus. I mean, this case is so convoluted, and at the end of the day, this is Guthrie's been missing for like what 15, 16 days now.
16 days today. Yeah.
16 days, and each day
We're
that
taping on
passes by,
Tuesday. Yeah. Hmm.
her ability to survive is diminished.
Yeah. And
So
that's the
anyway,
thing, right? This family and this woman is in the middle of this mess.
yeah, and there's familial issues that have taken place here. There's the sheriff came out and told everybody that everybody in the family has been cleared. I've never seen anything like that either. I mean, what I'm seeing from the sheriff is just mind-boggling. And let me tell you, from being on the ground for as long as I was, I had citizens coming up to me and unloading on me about their distrust of the police department. Why? Because of the sheriff. That's really a bad situation.
Yeah. Well, and we're in a time in the country where people are not trusting the FBI. They're in this situation not trusting their local sheriff. I mean, who do we trust, Randy? Like what?
You
How do we
know,
get this
and
thing
this is
done? She needs to be found.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm really I'm really happy that the FBI is on the ground in such force there.
Hmm.
Although I've got to say this too, you haven't heard anything from the FBI.
No.
They've gone radio silent too, and I don't know if that's because they just don't want to be involved with the sheriff and don't want to give. I mean, the sheriff won't even give a press conference anymore.
Right.
He's he's he was lambasted so much for the last one he did
Hmm.
that he's now just doing one-on-one interviews. It's a mess.
Let's talk about though the switch over from the sheriff talking a lot to not talking. Do you think that sort of came from some suggestion by the FBI, like, hey, this is not helping the way the communication is going? And also, if you have, for example, you've worked a lot of cases. If you have a suspect, I don't know if you've worked kidnappings or not, but the more information you're serving up so much information to this person who I would assume you want to kind of deprive information from.
Well, they've been very circumspect on a lot of the critical information. They haven't given it out. They haven't
Right.
given out whether it was a forced entry. They haven't given
Sure.
out what the crime scene looked like. So the stuff that's really critical, they've kept
Yeah.
close to the vest, which is the right thing to do. I don't think the FBI is has a good enough relationship with the sheriff to tell him anything.
Okay.
The sheriff, I think the sheriff just doesn't like the FBI based on past relationships.
Right. There had been
You
an
know,
investigation and
right.
wrongdoing found in his department, et cetera. Yeah. Let's talk about the 40 names and 40 pictures that reportedly they're going around showing to gun shops. That's a lot of faces and names to throw at people. Talk a little bit about that sort of approach, and I guess that's pretty typical in a way. But usually, is it that many names?
Well, they're getting so many leads between the FBI tip line, the local tip line, emails. They're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of leads. I mean, I've got people contacting me, giving me leads, and
Wow.
and so it's a massive undertaking. You only have limited personnel, even though the FBI is thrown 400 agents at this. You still have limited personnel. And I want to say this that Pima County Sheriff's Department, these guys have been called in. They canceled their days off. They canceled their
Yeah.
vacations. They're calling them in from their vacation. Some were out of the country and came back. They're working 24/7.
Yeah.
They're doing a massive amount of work, and so following up on those leads and from the information they got from the video, from the backpack, et cetera, and so forth. This is gumshoe police work, but on a massive scale.
Yeah.
So what they're going through is very, very difficult.
What did you make of the suspect video? Just the way in which this suspect carried himself, the sort of mistakes he made by being caught on camera. What does it tell you about who they're dealing with here?
Well, many people have been talking about him being bungling and all, but here's the thing: he did exactly what he wanted to do,
Yeah.
and we have no idea who he is. It's been 16 days, so he
Yeah.
accomplished what he wanted to do.
Sure.
Um, and some are saying, was it a burglary gone bad? No, it was not. This was a targeted incident. Um, if First of all, let's look at the crime statistics there. The last time they had a nighttime, we call hot prowl, nighttime burglary, was like 20 years ago. I mean, it's
Wow.
so rare. It's
Sure.
so rare. remember all those homes up there almost all of them are alarmed. This is rich people houses, right?
Yeah.
They're alarmed. They have security cameras, et cetera, and so forth. To do a nighttime burglary is exceedingly rare, and you don't dress up like that to do a
Yeah.
nighttime burglary.
Yeah,
He
and
had much more evil.
with a full backpack,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
completely packed backpack.
Yeah, and I believe that what was in that backpack was probably restraint devices
Mm.
and possibly even something to transport a body.
Wow.
So I am not subscribing to the theory that this is a random thing.
Hmm.
I believe it was targeted. I believe that this individual who committed this will, if we ever do find him, he's going to have a lengthy criminal history of
Wow.
violent crime, and I believe there was more than one person involved as well.
Wow. Uh, when you hear the latest ransom note, whatever you make of those in your estimation as a law enforcement official, um, what do you take away from like this last one where they're saying we saw her alive in Mexico, it's multiple people, etc. Is there any credibility to this thing?
I don't think so because let's look at the methodology at play here. Why would you go to TMZ? All you got to do is call the FBI tip line and
Yeah,
get paid $100,000 and be a hero. Even if you don't want your name won't be released. So it doesn't make any sense. And of course they arrested one person for one of the ransom demands. I hope they find these other people who did this because they
hmm,
need to be in prison. They need to be in prison as well for the torture that they're putting this poor family through.
absolutely. Uh, when it comes to motive, I mean, I know you said targeted, but I mean, is there any clue why someone would do this?
I I don't know if they've developed any motive, but what are the motives that we usually see in a situation like this? By the way, kidnappings are so rare,
Of course.
so incredibly rare. But what are the motivations? The motivations always seem to revolve around money,
Mm.
lust, hatred, revenge.
Yeah,
Those are the four motivating factors of a violent crime. And when it's a planned violent crime, then it adds another dimension to it. This isn't a hey I a hot blood type of situation. This was
sure.
planned, and so it's even more dangerous.
When you think about the messages that we've seen Savannah Guthrie tape, some of which you could tell, she's following some definite talking points. But the most recent one almost felt, not so. Like it felt very heartfelt. But do you think the messaging is exactly what it needs to be to try to reach whomever knows something or has her?
Well, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know
Yeah,
something about this case. As far as the messaging, I think the first two um, videos that were done under the direction of the FBI because they were going with the thoughts that this was a ransom
sure.
situation. I don't believe this has ever been a ransom situation,
Okay.
but but I do believe that she was coached, that they worked on that wording together. Now I don't think so. As you said, this is very personal. This is it's desperation
Yeah.
and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see.
What do we expect to unfold? We've seen the couple of SWAT moves that have happened, on persons of interest, or not even really people of interest, just following up on leads. Is that like just help us all understand what to expect as this thing unfolds? That's kind of the way we're going to see leads followed. Is that right? Where we're just going to see SWAT move out, and how would that differ from when, if hopefully they get the guy. They know this is going to be the place they find her and how that would go down versus these quick checkouts with SWAT.
Well, actually, it's going to go down exactly the same way. These weren't
Okay.
quick checkouts. These were search warrants that they had planned. They have to move quickly when you're talking about the life of someone.
Sure.
So they obtain search warrants. Remember we're talking about an armed kidnapper, so tactical units will be utilized every
Yeah.
time.
Every time.
It has to be. And they go in, they make the entry, they secure the scene, and then it's up to the investigators to go in, do their work there, interrogate or interview the individuals, and try and follow where this leads. But they had to have some probable cause. Now remember this: they also seized a vehicle.
Yeah.
They didn't check it out and then release it. They seized it.
Yep.
That indicates to me that they have found something. Now maybe what they found in the vehicle had nothing to do with the case, but maybe it was contraband anyway. Maybe it was drugs. Maybe it was stolen property. We don't know. But
Yeah.
they certainly took the vehicle. And that would not happen unless they had something of value there, even though it may not be of value to this particular case. But there's so many rumors going on around this. I mean, so many
Hmm.
conspiracy theories that it's hard to it's I mean, literally we were getting reports on the ground when I was there when SWAT did that entry, that the police had killed somebody, that somebody had shot themselves.
I
I
heard some
mean,
of that. Yeah.
it's just it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane what's going on down there because the people are in a panic.
Yeah.
Everybody is concerned, everybody's worried. There's this monster on the loose,
Yeah.
and it's really, I mean, it's a community that is really really concerned.
When you think about the time you spent there, um, what does being there do for your understanding of the situation? Because I know obviously the first few days you weren't there, but then what? You were there 9 days or so in the midst of all of this?
Yeah, I was. So I'm a commentator for a lot of different news organizations,
Sure.
and I consider that role very seriously because being able to translate what the police are doing to the people who don't understand police procedure, I think it's an important thing to do. So
Absolutely.
it's something that I enjoy. It's something I feel committed to do. So when a major news station asked me to go down there for them and report, I was more than happy to do it. It was a lot of work. I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I did more news hits in that week than I probably did in the rest of my life put together.
Right. Right.
And what I see is a couple things. First of all, the police professionalism. I spoke to a number of the officers who, of course, wanted to remain anonymous, and
Sure.
they told me some of the internal stuff that's going on inside the department, which is disturbing from a leadership point of view. Morale is bad. These guys are really working their butts off. So the dedication of the police officers is top notch. Leadership, not so.
Mm,
And unfortunately, that permeates a police agent, a law enforcement agency.
sure.
You have bad leadership, you have bad results. So, but I've seen this before. This is nothing new. I was a cop for 34 years. I
Yep.
worked under great leaders. I worked under really bad leaders, and
Yeah.
I've seen this show before. So that's why it's important in my role as a commentator. And the other aspect of this that I think it's incumbent to talk about is the stress that these law enforcement officers are going through.
Yeah.
In my full-time role, I created a charity called the Wounded Blue. We're the national assistance and support organization for injured and disabled officers. And post-traumatic stress is something we deal with literally every single day. And I can tell you right now that these officers, many of these officers, are going through serious, serious stressful anxiety, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. And that's why I'm offering the services of the Wounded Blue to. I mean, we're a national organization, so
Sure.
any law enforcement officer who's struggling, we reach out to because we are a resource for them.
Well, that is wonderful to know. And for our community also, we got plenty of law enforcement here in our area that may need your services down the road. Uh, when it comes to what you think will happen on this case, I mean, crystal ball, only with the knowledge that you can bring to your years of experience and what you've seen there on the ground. I mean, do you think they're getting closer?
I think that with the number of leads, both coming in from the outside and also the the digital analysis, the forensic analysis, the capturing of video. It's just a monumental task. I think slogging through this investigation um, is going to require time unless they get a break that comes quickly. So remember, this didn't happen in a vacuum. Somebody knows who it was
Yeah.
that did this.
Yeah.
That $100,000 is a good incentive, but there could be more at play here, that this individual did not even come from the United States who committed this act.
Sure.
There's a possibility that this was a hired hit, if you will, and they brought in somebody from that wouldn't be in CODIS, that
Yeah.
wouldn't be in the database. So
Yeah.
there's a lot here that, and since we don't know, it's all conjecture.
Of course.
I can talk about procedures, I can talk about
Yeah.
the possibilities, but I can't do it with any. The reality is there's no crystal ball here.
One thing that's interesting, I interviewed, I don't know if you remember the Todd Colehep case that was in our area. He was a serial killer and had killed some people in a bike shop, and then it started killing random couples and women, and captured a woman who was found alive in his capture. He's in prison now, but I interviewed his mother, and she was telling me in the aftermath of it that during all the years, it was like a 30 years unsolved case, he kept talking about, do you think they're ever going to catch him? Do you think, like his interest in the case was so unusual and elevated. And really, in hindsight, she was like, I guess I should have realized like something was weird. I mean, he was taping all the newscasts and he was doing all these things. So my question to you is, if you're some relative who's kind of sitting in denial, what kind of things should you be paying attention to that a person who's done something like this might do?
Yeah, that's a great question, because what they should be looking out for is any change of behavior, a change of appearance. We
Mm.
do have, a certain, we don't have a composite or anything yet, but we do have shape of the body, but we saw some, he was like bow-legged, which, if somebody knows this guy,
You're
they
going to
could they
recognize
could
him.
they could recognize him, right?
Hmm.
So any change of behavior, change of appearance, disappearance. Did this guy suddenly, he's been, at his house every day for 30 years, and suddenly he's not there anymore? And then put those things together, and if you have a gut instinct, go with it.
Yep. Trust yourself. Let the FBI figure it out. Don't you figure it out. Just call them and give them a chance to look into it.
Right? Exactly.
Randy, I appreciate your insight so much. Thank you for sharing it. Thanks for giving us a really close up look at what it was like to be there as well for so many days.
Sure thing. Anytime.